Let me explain just right after the intro. So you might be wondering why I am in a pink bunny blanket. I was a bit under the weather last night and into today. I'm not 100%. And so I don't know about you, but when I am in that state, the thing that brings me the most comfort when I am ill is this pink bunny blanket. It was a gift quite a few years ago. It is not intended for adults. It is certainly not intended for a 44-year-old adult male, and I actually don't care. It doesn't matter. I adore it, and it makes me feel good. And yes, it looks ridiculous, but whatever. So, welcome, gentle viewer. I would love to talk to you about love. Now, Valentine's Day is quickly approaching. It's tomorrow, and it's a crap holiday, to be perfectly honest. I'm not a big fan of Valentine's Day. I never was. I feel like it's a Hallmark holiday. And I actually I have this thing where it's like you can be a jerk to somebody all year and then just like flowers on Valentine's Day and everything's okay. It's just, I don't know. I just really disagree with it. I think that it's more important to be the person that is willing to offer love and support and all of those things. Does it bother you that I'm doing this? To offer love and support and all of those things every day. Like, why isn't that normal? Just to be a good person every day. So Valentine's Day notwithstanding, I wanted to touch on a video that talked a little bit about love. Before I get to that, I have somebody that I want to introduce you to. You may have noticed this handsome fellow sitting on my shelf right back there. And this is a Sansevieria cylindrica, also known as a snake plant, I believe. And so I had the good fortune to hang out with my friend Jacqueline just last week. And I said, hey, can you take me plant shopping? Because I need a plant for my office, because everything in here is just kind of cold and dead and electronic, and these things bring some life into the space. And so she was like, sure, let's go hit up some plant shopping. And this was the recommendation because my light in here is garbage. And apparently it's really hard to kill these things, but I'm very good at killing plants, so who knows? Jackie operates a plant YouTube channel, which is actually really soothing to just kind of hang out and listen in. And I would highly recommend you give my friend, just give her page a look and her channel a look and throw a subscribe her way, fellow INFJ. And it's really fun hanging out with another INFJ because you're sitting there and you both know that your heads are going like 100 miles an hour in all sorts of directions, but you don't really say anything because the words don't really connect and you're just both kind of awkward anyway. But either way, it is super fun to hang out with somebody of a similar type because you're like, well, doesn't matter. I get it. So I'll leave a link to Jackie's stuff in the comments down there. And like I said, please go over, say hi, tell her I sent you, and say hello. She's a good friend of mine. Today I want to talk to you about three things. 3 ways to protect your sweet, vulnerable INFJ heart, or probably not so vulnerable at times. And so what I thought I'd do with this is give you 3 things that are a common character trait for INFJs, and then 3 ways you can go about sort of armoring yourself considering that character trait. Now, before I get into this, let's go ahead and leave the regular disclaimers out there, which is if you don't know what an INFJ is, check the links in the description, take the test, do all that kind of stuff. I cannot explain the full breadth of MBTI theory at the beginning of every video, so I'm sorry, you're just going to have to do some of the work on your own. It's the internet, everything's out there, including cat videos. Just have at it. Like, you got this, and I believe in you, and then come back here and hang out with us. Secondly, and you hear me say this all the time, there's a difference between personality and cognitive type. I talk in INFJ in terms of cognitive type. Everybody has a different personality. Yes, we are all unique, but there are some patterns with INFJs that will hold true from one to the next, to the next, to the next in different levels of a spectrum, of course, but pretty much we have a lot of these things in common, which is why it's so much fun to hang out with a fellow INFJ, because you're like, hey, you're weird too. And they're like, hey, you're weird too. And then you're like, okay. And it's just all weird. Lastly, if you're just here to tell me that MBTI is crap, please go away. But that's easy. Which brings me to one of the first things I would like to talk to you about, which is an INFJ trait that in matters of the heart can be tough to deal with. And that is the fact that you are often overflowing with empathy. Empathy in itself is not a bad thing. It is okay to be able to take other people's emotions and feelings into consideration. It's a good thing in pretty much every environment. And it's what makes for a harmonious group when you're involved with other people. For an INFJ in particular, it's all right. You can be a sensitive person and you can have a lot of empathy. What I need you to not be is a doormat. So you see, empathy in relationships is fantastic because you can put yourself in your partner's shoes or your significant other's shoes and just be like, okay, I can see this now from their perspective and I understand why they're hurting over something or why they're feeling the way they do or whatever else. You can very easily be taken advantage of because of that overflowing empathy. See the video I did with the whole narcissist thing. That is a perfect example of how your consideration for others can be run over by somebody who doesn't have a real positive intent. And I think for a lot of us that have a lot of empathy, we kind of fall into this trap where we think behavior or something is normal, and then we end up just accepting that normal behavior. And so it is not normal to be with a person. And if that person is holding back affection from you or holding back, just holding back a lot of love from you. And it's something that, as INFJs, we're so concerned about somebody else's feelings. Well, they're not, it's just the way they are. They're not in the mood or they're having a bad day and I don't want to make it worse and all these kinds of things. And listen to yourself when you're saying those things because you are excusing something that is missing from your life. That's not really okay. If you don't bring something like that up to somebody, and this goes into the whole doormat thing, right? If you just let people walk on you and wipe their feet on you, and you do not stand up for yourself and your needs and the things that you need to be a healthy and fulfilled person, well, what are you doing? You're allowing that person to walk all over you. And if you feel like you're afraid to bring it up, what does that tell you about the other person? Why would you be afraid to say, hey, I need a little more love? Hey, I need you to spend some more time with me. That's not an outrageous request. And it shouldn't be anything that anybody gets upset over. If somebody's reaction is to get upset because you are voicing that concern, that's on them, not on you. So the best way to protect your heart, the first way to protect your heart, if you are somebody that feels a lot of this empathy, is to make sure that you set boundaries and stick to them. I will not let myself get walked over. I will not be a doormat for anybody. My concerns and my needs are valid, just like those of my partner. And when you're both having a give and take going on, that's what makes for a much better relationship and it makes for much better communication. So protect your heart, my sweet INFJ. Set some boundaries and set some marks where it's like, you know what? No, that is not okay. And I'm going to tell you it's not okay. Not in a mad way. Not going to scream, not going to yell, none of that stuff. But just saying, all right, you know what? This is how I am. And this is part of me. And if you're going to fulfill me, just like I'm going to fulfill you, you need to do this for me. Remember that you're worth it. You're an incredible human being. You shine so brightly. You, my sweet, sweet INFJ friend, deserve to be earned. And all of this is going to bring me to my next point, number 2 on my list, which is that as an INFJ, you often dive into possibilities. You've heard it before, we're very future-oriented thinkers. And a lot of that has to do with our intuition, hoovering up all that information, trying to put some puzzle pieces together and all that kind of stuff. We think about possibilities and directions and, we have this kind of broad view a lot of times of what life is like and what we want it to be like and where we want to go and everything. Because of that future thinking and that intuition working overtime, you may have a tendency as an INFJ to romanticize situations in a completely overboard way very quickly. Yep, it's this, and I've known many INFJs who have been like this, where you can just fall into this obsessive head over heels love for somebody in like an instant. Not to say that I've never been guilty of this myself. I totally have. It was a long time ago. I was at a bus stop and I found her to be very pretty and she had headphones in and she was like staring at her phone and all this kind of stuff. And, I just had this idealized view of this person and I wanted to meet them and talk to them and everything else. But then you got to be careful. That can get creepy really fast on people. As an INFJ, immediately my future thinking just like ran wild. I pictured myself with this person and, together, and we were living somewhere and everything was great. We were happy and supporting each other in each other's jobs and everything. I had no idea who this person was or what her name was. I'd just seen her like at a bus stop a few times, but it was just one of those things where somebody catches your eye. Then of course you do the other typical INFJ thing, which is where you walk up to them and you want to start a conversation or break the ice, but the words don't connect from head to mouth all that well. So it just comes off like really weird. Hi, I saw that you have headphones in. I like to have stuff in my ears too, but not like forks. Hey, I saw you there and I like your elbows. Those are cool shoes. I wear shoes too. I like them on my feet. I don't wear them on like my face or whatever. Your hair looks nice today. I bet that took some time to put together or whatever. I wasn't in your bathroom. Oh God. So we tend to idealize, especially in terms of romance. And, you may meet somebody and just your head, and I don't think this is an uncommon thing, and maybe it's not specifically an INFJ thing, but I tend to believe that we have more of an aptitude for this kind of thing where we just start to think on possibilities and future outcomes and all these different things. And so it does tend to get you lost. And this is something you need to protect yourself against. The way to protect your heart from this is with objectivity. Getting so focused on the one thing that you can't have at the detriment of all of the amazing things around you and amazing people around you hurts you. If you're so laser focused on a relationship that didn't work, or on somebody that you can't have, or on this romanticized idea of what things are supposed to be like, you miss the other things that are right there in front of you. And you may have friends and you may have people close to you that want nothing more than to be there for you and to show you a lot of love and to really be a rock for you so you can have success and be a good person and be an okay person moving forward. But if you're so focused on something that is broken and lamenting the fact that it is broken and questioning why and feeling like you're never going to get anything good again, you're not looking out the window. You're not seeing all of the amazing things that are right in front of you. And that is trouble for your heart. So protect yourself by being objective and not throwing yourself into these situations feeling like it is the absolute end all be all of life, that you are in this perfectly idealized relationship. Doesn't work out that way. Life doesn't work out that way, but there's so much around you that's really incredible. You just have to open your eyes and see it and learn to appreciate those things. If you've been watching any video I do for any amount of time and commented on something, you have probably heard me say, I appreciate you to you, because I say it constantly and I don't cut and paste either, people. It's genuine. It's from the heart. But it's true. If you have this goal to appreciate people and things as much as you possibly can, then good things will come to you in your life. And as soon as you turn that focus outward a little bit on others, you'll find that you end up getting very fulfilled. And that's a good feeling. The third one I want to touch on is the fact that as an INFJ, you are typically slow to fully open up to people. We're INFJs. Like, there's a lot of thinking and overthinking and all sorts of things swimming around in our head at any given time. And sometimes it's just what's inside of there and we're not really letting it out into the world. How is somebody supposed to know who you are if you can't share with them fundamental things about you as a human being? You know, what your thoughts are, what your dreams are, what are these ideas and ideals and principles that you have? And it's not a bad thing to explain that to somebody, to share in a conversation and to learn what theirs are too, just so you know what drives that person as a human being. The thing is, we get hurt. And then what we do is we build a wall. And behind that wall, there's another wall. And behind that wall, there's another wall. And then there's your heart, my sweet little INFJ friend. Your heart is behind a wall and a wall and a wall. And I understand it's a defense mechanism. My defense mechanism is when people ask me to call or call my phone, then I get defensive because they're trying to drag me into a situation that I'm uncomfortable in. And so there's mine. Fully admit it. But for you, think about that. If you're putting your heart behind all kinds of walls and you're never letting anybody in, you're the one in prison. And you're also never letting yourself out. All right. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, you know what? Well, I don't need other people. And that's fine. All I do is get hurt. And I don't need anybody, and I don't need love or anything else. Sorry, but you're wrong. You do need love, and you do need appreciation. So how do you protect yourself against that? How do you protect yourself when it comes to being vulnerable? It's to be vulnerable with the right people and have people around that you can practice that with and open up to, and you feel safe doing so. And it's important to identify them, that they're not out to just get something from you. They're not out to make themselves feel better. They're not out to knock you down in order to feel better about themselves. I think a lot of this comes down to effort. When you put effort into understanding other people, it's okay to expect effort for them to understand you. Now, when you're being an awful INFJ is when you expect everybody to kind of kowtow to your needs without making the effort to understand them and appreciate them. Then you're being the awful person, and don't be the awful person. Ask people how they're doing. Ask people how their day is. Try to be the first person to do it during the course of a day. Be the first one to ask, how are you? And mean it. Not just as a way to talk about your own stuff. And I think if you can be that person, you will get to identify those who really do appreciate and resonate with it. And you'll build trust with the right people. And those right people are the ones that you can be vulnerable with. It's all it takes is a little bit of practice being able to open up and say, look, this is me, and I hope you can accept me. That's it. The right people will hold your heart in their hand and will understand how precious that is. That's it for today, folks. Just some thoughts on love right around Valentine's Day, which is just whatever. But I've kind of wanted to do this little talk for a while. And because it is something that kind of occurs a lot in the comments, at least on some of these videos, where many of you are saying, how do I do this in a relationship? And what's this like in a relationship, or whatever else? I am not the type of person just to offer willy-nilly relationship advice. But in these kinds of ways, when I know how a lot of you think as an INFJ, and I believe that we have a lot of these things in common, this is the sort of stuff that has really helped me to get myself stable and to get myself understanding that I am worth very much and that other people are worth very much, but the right people, and doing the things that I need to do to protect myself so I don't get easily heartbroken like I did over and over and over again throughout like my entire 20s or whatever else. So thank you very much. And I appreciate you being here and watching and listening, and I will catch you on the next video.